Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in the KT Garage. Today we're going to work on a 2008 Toyota Tundra 5.7 liter engine. I've owned this vehicle since it was brand new back in 2008. It gave me very little problem over the years. I have close to 250,000 miles on the truck, and now recently there's an error code, or the engine check light came on, and it says something about the bank 1 catalytic converter isn't working properly. So that means that I need to replace the catalytic converter. I looked online, and best prices I can find is like around $800 for a decent set, or a decent just one side of the catalytic converter. So I have that option to replace the converter, or I can spend $5 for one of these O2 sensor extension, and it will give me similar results as far as inspection goes and check engine light. So what this does is extend your O2 sensor. So your O2 sensor is going to get hooked up here, and this is going to get hooked up right into the back of the catalytic converter. And when the O2 sensor is away from the mainstream, the readings is acceptable for the computer to recognize that it's okay. I'm gonna do that for now, since I'm not gonna keep this truck much longer. I passed it down to my son. He's been driving it for a while, and he's got a couple of more years of college left. And then after that, we're just gonna trade it in and get a new car for him. So I just want this truck to last a couple of more years, and then we'll trade it in and it becomes someone else's problem. So I'm just gonna do this right here. It cost me $5, and it'll take care of the inspection problem and the check engine light problem. Now, what you need to do is get yourself one of these wrench. This is an O2 sensor, socket. It's an O2 sensor socket that you can take the O2 sensor out from under the car. You can see that the socket has a slit on it, and this is for the wire on top of the O2 sensor to stick out as you rotate the socket. Now you can see that I custom cut this, because I didn't want to spend the money to go buy the one that pre-cut, because they're going to charge you like 3-4 times as much as one of these. It's a 7/8 of an inch socket. You can just take one of your socket, if you have an extra one, cut the slot, save yourself even more money. So, and I've been using this over the years on quite a few O2 sensor already, and it works out just fine. What I'm gonna do is I'll go into the car, I'll show you what O2 sensor is. And this is the downstream one. The downstream O2 sensor is the one that actually measure the emissions. The O2 sensor sitting in front of it is for your engine. They'll give you the O2 sensor level before it passes through the catalytic converter, and that one's more for the engine controls. The second O2 sensor that's behind the catalytic converter, that's the one that tells you if the catalytic converter is working properly or not. That's the one that we're going to work on. So first, I'll show you where it is. I'll show you how to take it apart, put the extension on, put it back together, and then I'm going to do some test runs and see if the check engine light come back. And I'm going to check the smoke check to see if it clears all the codes, so we can get the car inspected and go from there. Okay, so I'm under the truck, and this is the passenger side catalytic converter right here. And then this goes up. There's an O2 sensor sitting on top. We don't need to know where it is because we're not dealing with it. Now, this is the downstream one. You can see that it's accessible. It's real easy to get to. So this is a sensor you need to back out. Now, it's been on here for many years, so I'm going to spray some WD-40 on it, let it sit for a little while I'm taking care of the electronics, trying to get it disconnected. So this right here, it's just like hooked up to a few places, and then you can just like remove the O2 sensor wire from here. Just find a way to back it out. I think, yeah, this one tap right here, you press on it. I think that might be on both sides. No, just one side. You press on this and then you pull this out. I need 2 hands for that, so I'm going to do that. You need to take that out and all of this out before you take the O2 sensor out, because as you rotate, you're gonna start winding the wire and cause damage to it. So just make sure that's all free before you start taking this out. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some WD-40 on here and see if we can back this O2 sensor out. Well, here we go, guys. So I unhooked the wires or the plug from up there. Is super simple. You press it on where the latch is I showed you before, and then just pull it straight out. And then you can see how this works. So the wire goes through the slot over here, and surprisingly, this came out like super easy. I put a little bit of torque on it. You can see this already came out. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this apart. And I'm gonna set the camera down for this, but I'm gonna go and back the O2 sensor out and put the extension on. Alright guys, so this is a shot from the rear of the vehicle on the passenger side. I'm looking towards the front. You can see everything is nice and clean. That's the extension right there. And then I hooked up the, like, all this clips goes back to where it was. So there's one here, and then one that clips up here where the plug is. So all that is going back to where it was, nice and clean. So I'm going to start up the engine and see if I can clear the code and have it to stay off. I'll drive for a little bit, and then we'll let you guys know if it fixed the problem. Well guys, I wanted to clarify something. You don't really need a socket with a slit for this application. You can use it if you want, but you don't need it. You can easily use it with a wrench. You can see part of the video where I was just working with this, because with the extension this gets too far up, and then I can't use this anyway. But it works as well with the 7/8 wrench. So don't go buy this for this application, but in some other application where inside the engine bay you don't have access to places where you can turn the wrench this long, then you need one of these. Well guys, I drove over an hour and the engine check light is still not on yet, so I think the problem is fixed. I checked a smog test and it passes the test, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this to inspection and get the truck inspected. The car actually only have 221,000 instead of 250 like what I told you before, so but it does rack up some miles. Okay, guys, on the way back from test driving, and would it pass the code from my scanner, I stopped by, get the car inspected. So now it's past inspection. I just need to get the car re-registered so my son can drive in the summer. Just gonna drive for this summer and the following summer, and then we'll be done. Probably gonna get a newer car for him. But in the meantime, I think it's gonna be good for the next couple of years. Now, something like this, you know, it could save you hundreds of dollars or even thousands of dollars if you go and replace a new catalytic converter. So first, use the extension. It might not work for your application, but you know, it's the first thing to try before you go and replace expensive parts. And then if, let's say if the extension doesn't work, maybe it's the O2 sensor. So you go and change the O2 sensor next and see if that's the problem. And then if the O2 sensor doesn't solve the problem, and then go ahead and get your catalytic converter replaced. I appreciate you guys tuning into KT Garage. If you like the content, please like and subscribe. Thank you.